Thank you. And Tyler Gleason will ask the next question.
Should the state reform its laws relative to the status of immigrants and temporary workers?
Mr. Crocker. Should the state reform its laws relative to the status of immigrants and temporary workers?
Well, there's no question it's an area that seems to be don't ask, don't tell in a different fashion. Clearly, we saw an article in the Herald that suggested 230,000 illegal immigrants are in the state of Massachusetts currently, and they suggested that perhaps 25% of them may be receiving some type of assistance. That type of a financial drain will obviously take money away from the areas that it's supposed to go. What's equally disappointing for me is a friend of mine who's one of my coffee buddies, runs the Newton Housing Authority. And he's clear that if one of the applicants comes to him and they've been turned down by the federal assistance program for housing funds, that they can't use any of the data that was done to investigate that person at the federal level. So here's your tax dollars being used for one level of investigation, but then it can't be handed off to another group. So there's a number of things that don't seem to jive between what's being done at the federal level and what's being done at the state level, and it's a serious drain on our resources.
Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, I think this is a case where sort of we're being ruled by rhetoric instead of common sense. The way to approach this issue is to really first understand who it is we're talking about. A lot of undocumented workers in the Commonwealth are people who come here on J1 visas or H2B visas and overstay those visas. They've been productive, they continue to be productive, and maybe we should look at ways that they can continue to be productive. I think we need to look at employers who are actually hiring undocumented workers and make sure that we crack down on that, because for somebody to come here and have a job working undocumented, that means somebody's hiring them, and I do think we need to look at that. I think as far as the services that Jim referred to, again, we have to be very specific about who we're talking about. Some of the undocumented folks that come here as children, had no say over whether they came here or not. They were brought here by parents and were brought here as undocumented people. And to deny them education and to deny them medical treatment just because they happen to be children who came to this country undocumented, I don't think is right either. So I think this is not a one-size-fits-all convenient rhetorical answer to this question. I think we really need to dive down and see who it is we're talking about and sort of why they're here and then what their future can be here.
I want to applaud the candidates in being very brief in their response. And actually, we got through all the way through our questions, which we didn't get through this morning. So given that we have a couple of minutes, I would ask if anyone in the audience had a question that they wanted to ask of the candidates. This is a bit unplanned. I didn't warn you on this, but we have a couple of minutes. Any of the students can think of a question, I'll be happy to call on them. I can see them thinking. Questions are forming in their head. Hands are about to tentatively go up. And
way over on the right.
Graham. All right. Graham, can you get up and be really loud? I know you can get up and be really loud.
All right. What's your opinion on the war in Afghanistan?
We'll start. All right, that's and we'll ask that. I'm sorry, who was up? I think Mr. Wolf was just saying. You just spoke last. You speak first on this one.
First, let me be real clear that as state senators, you would agree that we're not going to have a lot of say in that. But my feeling on it is for the amount of money that we're spending, when you think of what we could be doing in this country, we could rebuild every school, provide health care for every citizen of the United States. So that what I would say about the war in Afghanistan is there is a need for our public safety to have a role in making sure that there are not breeding ground for terrorists. That having been said, I think we could fulfill that other than what we're doing in Afghanistan. And my view is we should, as quickly as possible, disengage and get out of Afghanistan.
Mr. Crocker.
Afghanistan is very complicated, as we can imagine. That's how we probably ended up there to begin with. And we're not the first non-solvent group to go in there as such. There's been a lengthy war, and I'm not sure that that region is ready to make peace with itself and to advance. But the loss of human life is getting much to bear. Sunday reports on the news tells you a group of people who passed away this year defending our shores. And it's very disheartening for me. It's very difficult to see on a regular basis. I lost one of my uncles in World War II, and my father talked about his entire life. So, you know, there's a huge cost to pay for our independence, and we have to make the right choices. But again, it's not going to fall in the state's hands.
Is there another question from the floor? One in the center right there. Nancy,
Are you pro-life or pro-choice and why?
starting with Mr. Crocker.
I'm a practicing Catholic, and again, I have no social agenda on this issue, but when it comes to discussion of the alteration of parts of it, I would seem to be on the pro-life side of it. I'm not in favor of dropping the age. I'm not in favor of state and federal funds for it, and I think that pretty much puts me in my position. Thank you.
Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, I'm pro-choice, and I'd probably be excommunicated from my house because I have 3 daughters if I wasn't. But I think that women have a right to choose. I think it is the woman's biology. And I think that one of the unfortunate things in my 25 years living in Harwich is that there are less and less places where women can go for good reproductive counseling and treatment. So I'm as pro-choice as you could be, and would advocate for that as a state senator.
I think we have time for one more question from the floor.
Down in front.
One right there.
What is your opinion on the anti-bullying legislation? Do you think something should be done in the
Question. What's your opinion on the anti-bullying law that took effect this year in Massachusetts, and should something be done on the federal level? Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me say to all of you, if you're engaging in any of that stuff, it's inhumane and sort of inexcusable. And in my own family, I've had personal experience with it. I certainly strongly support strong anti-bullying legislation. I think probably we can deal with that on a state level, and I think probably what we do on a state level will be more effective and stronger than what would happen on a national level. So I think we should just continue to strengthen the state laws about that.
Mr. Crocker.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I see that we have a seminar coming up in the middle school shortly. We've just gone through a procedure of them in Barnstable as well. We need to be kind and considerate to each other. We need to get through this life. It's not an easy life. And the home rule and the state rule on this is going to rule the day. You can't ask people from Washington, D.C. to effectuate a real change for us in our backyard. We need to have home rule issues on this. We need to have good, strong school committee work, and we need to have our managers of our school and our heads handle the issue and work with you together to have a cooperative school year. Thank you.
Is there one more? We could go to. Wait. Oh, Mr. Houston, and I hesitate.
No, there's another student over here. I thought
I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you were asking. I hesitate, Mr. Houston. Floor. Go ahead.
Do you believe that higher taxes on gay couples are appropriated? Why or why not?
Higher taxes on what couples?
Gay couples.
Gay couples. I'm not sure. Do you know the issue that? I'm sorry. Who's up? Mr. Crocker, you were up.
it means that they're not counting as married on the
That's
federal
correct.
level.
On the federal, yes, under federal tax return. That is the question. Sorry.
No, I think it has to follow the state law. If it's permissible to marry, it should follow the state law.
And Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, as I said before, I mean, I favor national 50 states who acknowledge and embrace gay marriage, and I think once we do that, we will take away any inequalities through our tax code. But certainly, if we need to do something first to take away those inequalities, I would be in favor of it.
Okay. It probably just took me a while to process that in my own mind. But at this time, we'd like to allow 90 seconds each for concluding statements, starting with Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, I think it's neat talking to a group of students, because what I will say to you is the following. I would like to go to the State House to try to create a future and a vision for this place that you can move back to after you go off and finish your education and get a good job and afford to buy a house and raise a family and have an environment that you can love as much as I love this environment today. That is my goal going up there. It is to save the environment here and protect it for future generations and provide an economy here that you can afford to live in and raise your children in and have as great an adult life as I have been blessed to have here on Cape Cod and the island. So that is my desire, that is my pledge. Should I get elected and go up there, I will be working hard for all of you, hopefully for the years to come. Thank you.
And Mr. Crocker.
I'd like to encourage you all to get involved in politics, whether it's your school politics or whether it's management of different clubs and sports. It's very important that we all understand we have something to offer. My peer group asks me almost constantly why I'm involved with town council. They just see it as maybe perhaps more of a headache than it's worth. But you know, there's great satisfaction in service. There's absolute, and it's honorable to serve. And you really must take that away from you with you today and with the class that we have in front of you. It's the right thing to do. It's the way to stay involved. You're only doing good for your family, friends, and neighbors. So I'd ask you to get involved. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, please give both candidates a round of applause. I'd like to thank the student panel, Tyler, Ryan, Derek, and Rebecca for asking questions. I'd like to thank our timers, Sadie and Jillian, our sound technicians, the sound and lighting folks, Lauren, Seth, Nick, and David, and our awesome camera person, Cassie Hannon. And again, thank you all for being a great audience. It might be 1 or 2 minutes left in class. Come down and meet